Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to People April, a BookTube event created by Roz at Scallydandling About the Books and Elizabeth at Bookhans and Books that may or may not be cursed. It may or may not be a cursed event. I was a little terrified of the possibility of a cursed event on BookTube for a minute or two, and then I realized in the 21st century, that's the ultimate in cool. So far, no life-changing calamity has happened to me, but it's only a matter of time. And the event is designed to celebrate biographies and autobiographies, life writing of any kind, which of course is right up my alley because it's my favorite thing to read. I try to do a little of that kind of reading every day. And for People April, an event that dare not speak its name, People, I have made that try into a will. I have added a biography to my reading every day. And I did that last night with a book that did not please. It did not end up pleasing me. It didn't displease me. It's not bad, but it's not good either. It was boring. Uh, it's this. It's Sean O'Casey, Writer at Work by Christopher Murray. And it is a literary biography, or mostly a literary biography, of the great Irish writer Sean O'Casey, who was on my mind because last month when David Murphy was visiting, he found trade paperbacks of collecting O'Casey's little autobiographical volumes, which really should have been the thing that I read for People April. Instead, I read this. When I saw those trade paperbacks that David got, I know those books. I love them. I absolutely love them. I don't 100% believe them, but I love them as life writing. And when I saw those, that was sort of lodged in my mind. And when I next had an opportunity, a next opening in the calendar or whatnot, I reread Pictures in the Hall, one of those volumes, and just was struck all over again by it shouldn't come as any surprise. This author is a great playwright. I was struck all over again by his ability to set a scene and to really lay out the dramatic stakes involved to make personalities into dramatic stakes. Just wonderfully, wonderfully done. And then I encountered this thing, and I was thinking about a conundrum that faces writers when they are writing about writers, which is, are you going to do a sufficiently different job? It's, I think, as a given that you're not going to do a better job, but are you going to do a sufficiently different job to give your reader any realistic reason to read your book instead of reading the book the author wrote about themselves? Are you going to do that? There are cases for and against. Like, for instance, what's a good example? A literary biography of Edith Wharton, for instance, would be a distinctly different thing than her own book, A Backward Glance. There's plenty of room there for that kind of thing. The same thing would be true with other diehard writers. Virginia Woolf kept a diary for her whole life, and it has been printed in multiple volumes. There's also an abridgment of her diary that's a great volume on its own. So, I mean, I was going to say if you were to write a writer's biography of Virginia Woolf, but you really can't write any other kind of biography of Virginia Woolf, you would be in a bit of competition with that book. Actually, it applies even to people who aren't writers. Like, for instance, Candice Millard did a book called River of Doubt about a jungle trekking exhibition that former President Theodore Roosevelt did when he was out of office. And when I saw word of that in Publishers Weekly, I got advance word of that from publishers, and my only thought was, well, Roosevelt wrote a book on that very expedition, and he was one hell of a writer. We would remember him as a writer even if he hadn't been president. Can you do a better job than he did? And I guess I was pretty much alone when it came to that. But that was a darling of a book. Everybody loved it. I guess I'm pretty much alone in thinking that she did not do a better job than he did. But think about, well, there are endless examples that you could come up with here. O'Casey is one of the biggest examples because his autobiographical volumes are among his most famous things. If you discount his theater, his plays, his great plays, then you're going to know him from that. You're not going to know him from anything else. So a writer at work, okay. I went into this wondering, okay, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do that's going to draw me away from those books? Are you going to relate publishing world gossip about this author that other people brooded about. I don't know what I was expecting. I got one good thing out of this book. Christopher Murray is really good at reading Sean O'Casey's work, which I guess is the first thing that you would want in a book like this. It's just, for me, it's not the only thing that I would want. If a writer, some writers don't turn their gaze upon themselves at all. And so a book like this is going to be manna from heaven. You're going to love it. Even if the author's not particularly good at reading, the biographer's not very good at reading the author's work, you're still going to love a treatment like this. For a writer who did not ever turn their gaze upon themselves, but plenty of writers do. And sometimes it brings out their brilliance. And Sean O'Casey did, at elaborate length. He did. So, I mean, examples just abound. How much would a biography have to work? A biography of Moss Hart, for instance. How much would a biography of Moss Hart have to work to make me want to continue reading it instead of putting it down and reading Moss Hart's own book, Act 1? That biography would have to work really hard. No biography's ever done that. Never successfully done that. And so on and so forth down the line. I am maybe a bit of a history wonk, so I would also add any biography of John Quincy Adams. Is any biography of John Quincy Adams going to be more interesting than John Quincy Adams' own diary that he kept? Same thing with Samuel Pepys. It's a shadow that you're not going to be encountering that same kind of problem if you write about a whole bunch of other kinds of people who weren't literary. This author is good at reading the works, but he's just not interesting. He's just not interesting enough. It's a good, smart, scholarly book, but it's just not interesting enough. When I can go, one file over on this tablet to writings on the same subject that are unbelievably interesting, enrapturingly good. So this was a bit of a disappointment. And now that I think about it, a lot of my April 2024 picks that I've been talking to you about in these videos have been disappointments. So am I cursed after all? It could be that I am cursed after all. Maybe I should go to a favorite next time. Although, what if the curse of people extends that? What if I pull down a biography that I really love and start finding all sorts of things wrong with it? I will test that. And we will reconvene and see just how strong the curse of people is. But in the meantime, I will wrap this up for now, and I will be back. Thank you, BookTube.